Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and as we mentioned yesterday, standard rotation is going to be coming sooner than later, and like I like to do every single year, we're going to go through all of the expansions that will be rotating in probably a month or so, being Voyage to the Sunken City, Murder at Castle Nathria, and March Lich King, as well as the accompanying Path of Arthas. What epics and legendaries you should disenchant when rotation goes live to get that maximum dust, if in case you are still interested in playing wild, maybe dabbling in twist. And normally I'd recommend keeping the cards for duels, but duels is being deleted in April, so probably not going to factor that in too much. But again, not saying disenchant these cards now, wait for standard rotation. Or if you just want to keep all your cards, there's always that, but there's a ton of players that are always scrounging for as much dust as possible, so I always want to give my opinion on what cards you should probably, hold on to if you do want to play the wild format or the twist format or anything like that. And as always, if you enjoy the content on the channel, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, it helps us out a lot. So we're going to start off with the first expansion going away, Voyage to the Sunken City. Again, we're only going to go over epics and legendaries as commons and rares, relatively cheap, not super impactful. So we have Wayward Sage, which has seen play in especially questline decks. Definitely an epic I would hold on to. Again, only if you're playing Demon Hunter. Again, if you don't play the class, you might as well get rid of the card, right? Lady Athena has not seen any play relatively, actually never really saw play in Wild even before its nerf, and since then definitely not. But if it gets reverted, it might be a card to hold on to. So again, I'd wait for the possible reverts. That's another thing to factor in whenever rotation happens. Any card that's been nerfed might get reverted, and if this one does, it could be a pretty problematic card in Wild, so might get nerfed again. I hope they don't, but again, one you wouldn't hold on to unless they do that. Coil Scar Commander, I forgot this was a card. You can easily disenchant it, has seen no play. And Zelak, good amount of play in standard, but never in Wild. It's just too slow, and even with strategies to cheat it out, it's too slow, so I would disenchant that card. Bottom Feeder is a card that has never seen play in Wild, I don't believe. We got Jade Idol, you don't really need that infinite strategy. Seaweed Strike, again, never a card that's seen play, even with the quest line being pretty effective in the format. Kolak has seen tiny bit of played standard, nothing in Wild. Again, another safe to disenchant, just like Hedra the Heretic. You can disenchant all the Druid cards from the set. Raj Nazjan saw a bit of play in Questline Hunter, but overall, probably card you can safely disenchant, as well as Urchin Spines, another card that saw a bit of play Questline Hunter, which they didn't revert. I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon. And you could consider it if you just want that board clear, maybe in your Reno Hunter, but overall, probably a safe disenchant. Emergency Maneuvers, absolutely a safe disenchant. I don't think that secret has ever seen competitive play. And Hydralodon, absolutely keep this card. This still sees play in Wild. You can cheat it out through shenanigans. Super good card, even at a 7-mana card in Hunter. Absolutely sees play, and it's just one of the raddest Hunter cards ever. You can't disenchant that one. Volcanomancy is a safe disenchant for Mage, has never seen play. It's an okay discover option. Commander Cerbara, absolutely keep this card. If you want to be a Quest Mage gamer, it is absolutely core to that deck. Getting those spells back is super strong. Lady Nazjar, there's better ways of discounting in Wild, and that's all you really want from this card is the discount option here. Other than that, that's an easy disenchant. Spitelash Siren, even at 4 mana, has never really seen play competitively in Wild. I don't expect that to change, even if it's reverted, so I also could recommend disenchanting that card. Gaia the Tectonic is only a keep if you really like playing Mech Mage in Wild, which is a very fringe deck at the moment, but if you do like playing it, hold on to it. It's still kind of good enough. Katori Lightblade sees pretty much no play, but you got Call to Arms and all that. It's probably a card I wouldn't disenchant. I just feel like it has seen competitive play in standard, and you got Call to Arms, Boogie Down. You got a lot of ways of abusing the style of card. I probably hold on to it. Radar Detector, auto keep. Mech Paladin, it got Mech Warper banned, but it's still a pretty valid-ish deck, and there's just always going to be better in Wild than it is in Standard. The Leviathan, again, Mech Paladin, just Reno Paladin, really good card. I would not get rid of that one whatsoever. The Garden's Grace has never seen a day in Wild, at least competitively. I don't know if that'll ever change, but you can get a full refund for it right now, so you might as well disenchant it while you can. So we'll just throw that out there. And Front Lines is a meme, even with like Prismatic Lens shenanigans, has never been a meta viable card in Wild. So yes, I would disenchant that one as well. Priestess Valish, again, probably one I would wait to see if it gets reverted. If it gets reverted to 0, which I hope they don't do, but if they do it, this card's probably worth keeping. Other than that, I don't think so. Serpent Wig has never seen the light of day in Wild. I would not keep it. You have Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, you have way better ways of buffing things up and trying to kill your opponent. Blackwater Behemoth, keep it. Reno Priest loves it. Any Reno Priest list, it's just so good. It's so much healing, and that is very valuable. Whirlpool, I don't know if it's ever really seen competitive play in Wild. You got like Psychic Scream and Mass Hysteria and a lot better removal options. I actually think it's safe. I would say keep it if Duels was sticking around, but it's not. So I just don't know where Whirlpool pops up. It's just not really good enough for WoW. When you have like Shadow Reaper, Anduin, and all of that, it just isn't quite good enough. Ajaran Vessel has rarely, it saw play early on in Standard, but never in Wild. That is a very safe disenchant, as is Bootstrap Sunken Ear, another card that has seen very little play in either format. Krakatoa is too slow for Wild, for Rogue. Rogue is so fast. The Pirate Rogues don't play it. Mine Rogue certainly doesn't play it. Miracle Rogue, it's such an amazingly good card. This is such a good card, but if you're looking at purely Wild, you probably disenchant it, which is mind-blowing to me, but it just doesn't see play. It's pretty crazy. And yeah, Hook Tusk doesn't see play at either format, unless you're the Geminator, so I would disenchant that one as well. Next we have Radiance of Ajara. Hasn't really seen play in Wild, especially like Spear the Frog getting nerfed, so I probably wouldn't hold on to it. Same goes with Bioluminescence. I imagine this stays at 4, but you never know. Definitely a card I won't hold on to. Glug, if you're a big Shaman enjoyer, you hold on to this card, but that's basically all it goes into. You gotta love the Glug, so you probably should unless you like big Shaman, but again, I can't really recommend it too hard, and Rathspine Enchanter has been unplayable in every format. That would be an easy disenchant. For Warlock, Chum Bucket, never seen the light of day. Burlock, remember Burlock Warlock? Yeah, that was a thing for like a minute. I would disenchant that. Commander Ulthok, one of the worst cards they've ever made. Easy disenchant. Zekul, Curse Warlock, not really a thing in Wild, way too slow. I would disenchant that as well as Abyssal Wave, another card that just hasn't really seen the light of day. But Gigafin is an incredible card in controlling archetypes. You can cheat it out too with like that 4-drop. Really solid. I would definitely hold on to Gigafin. The Fires of Zidajari, I would get rid of unless you want to do some like meme combos. It's not a competitive card whatsoever. Same with Lady Ashvane. Just not a very good card. It saw a Standard play surprisingly for a tiny bit, but not that great. Nelly the Great Thresher, if it gets fully reverted, you might want to consider it for those Pirate Warrior decks, but still probably way too slow, probably a safe disenchant, as well as Trench Stalker, incredibly slow for the Wild format. The neutrals, Finley is an absolute keep. It sees play in multiple decks, plus he's just really rad. I would keep Amalgam of the Deep. Honestly, I'd like to see this card in the core set. It's a really nice card, just fits in a ton of decks, and I would absolutely keep Amalgam of the Deep. School Teacher's pool of spells, way too large and Wild, has not been a reliable card. It is a safe disenchant. Smothering Starfish, if this goes back to 3, I'd say keep it, so another one to keep in mind for that whole reverting process. Any Storm Coil, too slow for those mech decks, even when they are viable. Queen Ajara, basically just if you like playing Quest Mage, it's a nice thing to have to get Ring of Tides. Other than that, she just really hasn't seen a ton of play. Slithering Death Skill, easy disenchant. Ozamot, easy disenchant. And Neptulon, if you like Big Priest still, you can keep it. Big Shaman, but other than that, not super relevant, as well as Naga Giants. You can't get 20 armor anymore, so what's the point? For Castle Nathria, Sinful Brand, never really reliable in Wild. I doubt they revert it. I would not hold on to it. Crixus, never been viable. Would not keep that one as well. Meltranix, you could consider. I've seen it run in Disruption like Questline. It can do a good trick of that. Think about it. The Relics, way too slow for Wild. Both Zmock Dimensions, it might get reverted, but still will not be impactful impactful in the format. No Bloom, absolutely keep it. It's good in Wild for sure. Topier's another card I would hold on to. There's a lot of good like late game strategies that work with this card in Wild. Sicily, the Fey Court, easy disenchant, as well as Convoke the Spirits. For Hunter, Stag Charge, Wild Spirits. I'd keep Wild Spirits. I think they're going to revert this Wild Seeds, and if they do, I think it's good enough for Hunter. I don't think Erelon would be, though, or Huntsman Altamore. I think those are safe disenchants, as well as Nathanos. None of those have seen Wild play. But Alibi is a keep, sadly. It's still really quite strong in Mage. Vengeful Visage is terrible. You can definitely disenchant it. Orion is probably keep, obviously only if you play Secret Mage, but it's certainly good in that deck. And Kel'Thuzad hasn't seen played standard in a while, and in Wild never has. I would disenchant it. Promotion, even where like Odd Paladin's pretty good, I don't think they've ever really played that card. I would probably disenchant it. Steward of the Steward has seen play in like Odd Paladin and stuff like that. If you really like that strategy, hold on to it. Other than that, pretty safe disenchant. Elitist Snob has never seen play. Definitely, and they never buffed it to a 4/4. Pretty crazy. Easy disenchant, and the Countess, probably too slow for Wild, but Pierre's pretty cool in Wild. You could consider holding on to it if you really like that. Mysterious Visitor, way too slow, or just not really a relevant strategy for Wild. Easy disenchant, as is Pelagos. Even the inner fire decks don't bother with it. It's too slow. Harvester of Envy, though, I think is a keep if you like Reno Priest. Its synergies with Elucia can be pretty crazy. It's not top tier, but it's certainly something to consider. And Boon of the Ascended, even if it's reverted to 4 mana, is a very safe disenchant. For Rogue, Kidnap, you don't need to keep it if you still have it in your collection. What are you doing? Ghastly Gravedigger was only really competitive in Standard. I don't see it being competitive ever in Wild. Same with Halkias and Draka. I think those are both safe disenchants. For Shaman, Baroness Vash, barely saw play in Standard, has never seen play in Wild. You can ditch it, but Primordial Wave, Devolve exists, and it's just better, and people haven't ever bothered to run both. I would not bother holding on to either of those cards. If you like Plague Even Shaman, you keep the Stone Right. The card's nuts in it, as is Giga Totem, Giga Totem, whatever you want to call it. If you like Even Shaman, beep, boop, beep, you definitely hold on to those two cards. Impending Catastrophe, pretty easy disenchant for the Wild format. Imp Warlock's not really all that. Tome Tampering was going to probably be reverted or changed or reworked because it's currently banned. So hold on to the card because you're going to get full dust value when they nerf it later. So do not, absolutely don't disenchant this card until they make a final decision with that. Lady Darkfade, never seen play in Wild, and same with Imp King Rafam. Both are pretty safe disenchants. For Warrior, Riot, never seen the light of day. Pretty easy card to disenchant, as is Decimator Olgar. Good standard card, not a good Wild card. Burden of Pride, again, these two, you can disenchant them. And Remornia, really sick card, but not effective in Wild. Another safe disenchant. Ashen Elemental's definitely a keep. As long as Ice Block is a prevalent card in the format, this is a great tech to play around it, as well as like draw heavy decks. Murloc Holmes, if you like Meeman, you can hold on to it, but it's not a competitive card. Neither is Tight-Lipped Witness, neither is what the Demolition Renovator, tech card that has never seen the light of day, even with the tradable buff added to it. Sylvanas is too slow. I've only seen it in some like even Death Knights, and I don't think that's worth holding on to it. Theatar, you could consider keeping. Disruption, always at a premium. Kael'thas, I'd wait for reverts. If they for some reason put this back to like 6, it could be broken. They'll nerf it again, and then you get your dust back. Insatiable Devourer, you don't need to hold on to that. Sin-Fueled Golem, a card I forgot exists. Yeah, I absolutely disenchant this one. And Sire D, I would wait, because if they revert it, it's probably playable. If they don't, then yeah, absolutely disenchant it. Same with the Jailer. If they revert it, it'll be good with like both Mal'Ganis. Other than that, you don't want the card whatsoever. The Path of Arthas, Lady Death Whisper, you could easily disenchant, has never really seen much play. Same with the Might of Menethil. Like Blood DK, Blood Boil, you definitely want to hold on to. Frostboard is a terrible, terrible card. Frostboard's here. Again, if you like Frost DK and you think you want to play that in Wild, it's not competitive, and the Scourge absolutely has never been competitive. And lastly, we have the Lich King, where Meat Grinder, an easy disenchant option. Blight Fang, if it stays at 4, like, you'd probably keep it, maybe even DK. It's pretty mid, though, honestly. It's just not a great deck. Ograin feels too slow for the format, and I don't know, Soul Stealer, like, I love Blood DK, but it's not even good enough in Standard, let alone Wild. I don't want to recommend disenchanting them because I love them, but they probably aren't good enough. And Cinder Ghost, again, not good enough to hold on to. Wretched Exile has the problem of there's a lot of bad wild outcast cards, so has never really been good enough. Same with Thelerin. You just don't really want to keep those cards. Soul Eater Scythe has never really been a wild deck, with the quest line being what it is right there, and Brutal Nylon has never been a card, so you can disenchant that one as well. Wither got buffed and is still not worth holding on to. Elder Nadox, other than like that random beetle list that popped up, definitely a safe disenchant. And Nubricon has mostly been a standard card. I guess if they go crazy and revert it, you'll want to keep it, but I can't imagine they do that. The Under King, another safe disenchant. Arcane Quiver is a safe disenchant, as Hunter doesn't do the Arcane strategy. Scourge Tamer, I'm sad it never saw play, but you can definitely dust that one. Halderon, never seen wild play, as well as Hope of Kel'Thalas, I think are both safe disenchants. Prismatic Elemental I'd hold on to. Quest Mage likes to utilize it. It's a pretty decent card. You can throw it in Arena decks as well. Very solid. Energy Shaper, if you like B-Big with like a deck of Lunacy, keep it. Other than that, it is so completely not competitive. Vexalis, again, Quest Mage support. I would keep it only if you really like playing Quest Mage. Other than that, it's a disenchant, and absolutely don't get rid of Romath. This is why Quest Mage is playable. It's gross, it's really good, and could get nerfed at some point if for some reason they don't nerf the quest after like the billionth complaint. Blood Matriarch Leagent, I'd keep it. It's a decent card. You can call the arms it's gonna see play over time in wild. Time Warden never saw play, so you can disenchant it. Same with Blood Crusader, same with the Purator, although if they revert it, you might like it at 5, but even in wild, never really saw play in Pure Paladin. But in Nacronos, a really nice fit in Reno Paladin. I would probably hold on to it. I think it's worth keeping. For the priest cards, definitely don't keep Haunting Nightmare. You can keep, no, you don't keep Gravedigging. The Shadow Priests there right now are just, they're not undeads. They're just so much better than that. So High Cultist Basilisk, I would not keep. And Svalna, I wouldn't keep because infinite value doesn't matter in wild. It just doesn't, and as a result, that card does not see competitive play. Shadow of Demise, never get rid of this card. Utterly broken, one of the best rogue cards they have ever made. You definitely keep that. Putricide I would keep. Pirate Rogues run it. Token-based decks run it. It is pretty darn solid. You can easily ditch the Vile Apothecary. And Scourge Illusionist I would keep. There's Death Rattle shenanigans that abuse this in wild. I don't know if the Mine Rogue lists currently run it, but they have. I would not disenchant it. Scourge Troll, easy disenchant. Rodgill, unless you're a big Murloc Shaman enjoyer, which is not super competitive, I ditch it. Blight Blood's not even good enough for big Shaman, nor is Overlord Drakuru. Both of those are easy disenchants. Devour Souls I would keep because there's always possible degenerate OTKs with those style of cards in wild. I would just never ditch that card. Amorphous Slime is probably too slow. It's never seen real play in wild. Same with Drakan Drathir. Both safe disenchants. If you're a champion, easy disenchant when you have Risky Skipper, the wild format. It's just so much better. As is Asvedon, not a card worth keeping whatsoever. Spellbreaker, not worth keeping, even though it is disruption. It's not valuable enough. And Thori Balor, again, much too slow. And you can disenchant it right now. If you're not playing that card, you might as well get your full dust. Mystic, keep it. It's a tribal card. It's cheap. It was not a mistake to make that card after all. Astalor, still really popular in wild. Still a really good card. Warriors, Druids, tons of classes love this card. Do not disenchant Astalor. I don't think that's a very bold take on that one. Crystal Broker, unplayable. Definitely could get rid of that. Hawkstrider Rancher, you could consider it, but probably not worth it in the format. Enchanter, it's not a free card. You could disenchant that one most likely. Its effect is decent, but never seen real play in wild. Sanctum Spellbender, I don't think anyone's played that card realistically. And Plague Spreader is definitely not good enough for the wild format. Lord hasn't really panned out in any format, thankfully. I thought that card was a disaster waiting to happen. It didn't really happen. Rivenere War Rider is a cool card. You might want to consider for like the Boomzookas and the Cloning Galleries, but they're not competitive, but you never know. There could be a broken interaction with that in the future. Apparently you could just chat the signature of Lorthamar if you want, but other than that, yeah, it's a free card. But yeah, it's not good enough for wild. Neither is the Invincible, and Thaddeus, even if it gets reverted, likely isn't, and the Sunwell is a free card. So there we go, my overview of every epic and legendary that will be rotating. Hopefully you guys will have enough dust to scrounge together some cool decks when that next standard rotation is expected to happen, likely next month. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.